Hey there, welcome to Country Charm by Tracy. Today I'm sharing how I hand make some cards and turn ordinary little treat sacks into envelopes. Here are the supplies I'm using today. These craft chevron treat bags, a piece of extra burlap with lace ribbon that I had left over from a different project. I'm sharing here, I have used this little burlap with the ragged edges before, and I got that from Hobby Lobby. I am using some burlap flowers that I created using my Cuttlebug. I will insert a link here. I do have a video on my YouTube channel where I share how I created these little amazing little flowers. For the base of my card, I'm picking one out of this tattered and worn card collection that I picked up from Hobby Lobby, of course, when they're on sale. They're little note card sets. It does have envelopes with them, but I like to make my own. And I love to start with these guys because they are cute and decorative and just a great base. I am going to use a pink Bic permanent marker for some hand script lettering. I'm going to use some washi tape. And of course, I have my little gift card that I'm going to be putting on the inside of the card. I also need a piece of scrap paper that I'm going to be handwriting on. And I'm going to show you here, this is how I keep all of my scraps of paper that are big enough that I want to keep. I am going to share a link with you that I did do a paper scrap organizational tip several years ago here on my YouTube channel, and I will link to that so for my new subscribers they can check that out. Now these treat sacks, I have a ton of those because I buy them when they're on sale or if I like a different design, and I'm just kind of showing you here. This is just a little smidgen of the things that I have. These I got from the Target Dollar Spot. These I got from pickyourplum.com. And these right here, these are old Valentine, you know, I think I got them for like 10 cents. So, you know, I'm always on the lookout for these cute treat sacks. Alrighty, going to decorate the outside of the envelope, but I need to make sure that I can have enough space at the top where it will close using my little washi tape. So I have my little piece of burlap ribbon. I'm going to be using my adhesive tape, and I'm sharing this with you because I wish I would have just used the adhesive tape and attached that, but I went a step further, and after I did the adhesive tape, I added some art glitter glue, and I wish I wouldn't have done that because it kind of made the burlap dark underneath it, I guess, you know, from the glue. But I just went with it because I mean, it was okay. It just turned the burlap a little bit darker than I knew that it was supposed to be. So just use your judgment. Maybe if you use a little thicker burlap or, you know, something that won't show through. But this Dollar Tree burlap, it does show through if you use any kind of wet glue underneath it. So just sharing that tip. Now I'm going to figure out which of the burlap flowers I want to use for this treat sack. So I'm just going to go through here and pick out the ones that I want. I like to use 3 of them together, 3 different sizes and 3 different colors. I like to add a button to the center of my flowers, so I'm just using some wooden buttons and just some brown cording. It's a little bit different than actual jute. It's a little bit, it's not heavier, it's stiffer, and so I get that from the jewelry section of any craft store. Now for the sentiment, I am just going to handwrite using a permanent marker, and I want it to be permanent because I'm going to be putting some glossy accents over it, and I don't want it to smear, so make sure that if you do this you use a permanent marker. So I've already figured out the spacing that I need, so I'm just writing happy birthday Sissy because that is my sister-in-law's name. I like to give it a jagged edge, so I will just tear around it I do take my time when I'm doing this, and I will cut off some of that paper so that I don't have so much to kind of work with, and just tearing around the actual sentiment and just giving it a jagged edge. I'm going to distress the edges of it. I will do some doodling and just do all of the fun things that I like to do. I'm going to glue everything down, and so for the sentiment I can use it on the outside of the envelope, but I'm kind of figuring out that it's going to not give me a lot of space to put my washi tape, so I'm going to put that the sentiment actually on the card. And so the flowers that I usually use are more of this size, but I didn't have any of the white burlap in that size of flower, so I need to make some more. So I'm using that bigger flower, so that means that I will have to put my sentiment on the card. So the flowers are really, stiff. I stiffen them with Mod Podge. Go ahead and check out that video so you can see how I created those. So I'm just using some hot glue, and I will glue everything down. I like to use the little brown cording for the center of my buttons. It's a little bit stiffer, but it's thinner than actual jute, so it will go through those little buttonholes nicely. Working on the outside of the card, you see I didn't do too much to it. I just have my sentiment, and then I have 2 more burlap flowers that I am just hot gluing down. I like to use pop dots or foam squares for my sentiments to kind of give it a little dimension. It raises it up just a little bit. And so what I'm doing is just kind of crumpling up my sentiment because I like that it gives some little creases in there. It kind of all goes with the tattered and the worn theme that I'm going with. So I am just going to put pop dots, and I am not afraid to use a lot of pop dots. I am using 4 on this actual sentiment because I want it to stay nicely. I will have a link to all of the supplies that I'm using here in the video in the description below, or you can check out the blog post for those actual products that I do use here in my project. I used that same brown cording and wrapping it around 4 times around the middle of the card on the inside, and just tied it into a bow. I used hot glue, I think a little dot there in the center of that bow so that it would stay in place. Now I'm going to use some washi tape. Washi tape is great for things like this, just to keep things in place. And so I'm going to attach that to the card inside, but then I'm like, oh, that covered up that little heart, so I decided to move it over. So there's that. Of course, I always have to add extra, so I'm using some glossy accents. This is just something I'm going to put on top of the sentiment, and it just gives it a glossy look, which I like. Not everybody likes to use glossy accents, but that's why I use a permanent marker so that it doesn't smear my sentiment. And I'm just rubbing my finger over it, and it just kind of gives it a shiny look. And here is my handmade card with envelope. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel by clicking on my little picture there, and here are a couple of other videos if you'd like to check those out. I appreciate your comments, your thumbs up, and just all of your continued support. Thanks so much, guys, and God bless.